certainly think that there's a chance of greater vertical integration in beef pork because of this rule. A number of players told us that, well, with the burden that the rule places on the packers, we couldn't blame them for trying to bring more of that production under their control. And that is a very, there's cost associated with that, certainly. But in this case, the benefit may outweigh the cost, too. So I think we may end up with, if you ask me to look 5 or 10 years down the road, a more vertically integrated beef and pork industry than we have now as a result of this rule. And then finally, some last thoughts, and I wanted to be sure I mentioned this. We do think that this rule, as written, is going to have a significant impact on livestock auction markets. This is something that hasn't been talked about much, but there is a real potential for it. Keep in mind, one of the provisions of this rule says that order buyers can only work for one packer. What we think will happen there, that has the potential, if that goes into effect, to set off what we might refer to as a death spiral at some smaller auction barns. Another point I'd like to make is that we don't think the economic impact is going to be immediate with respect to these rules. It will take 2, 3, maybe 4 years to reach the levels that we've reported here. I think on day one, when it's implemented, you're not going to see much difference other than maybe movement to single pricing in hogs or trying to attempt to move to carcass pricing in cattle. But the real damage in terms of efficiency losses and quality losses won't really materialize until we get several years down the road.
In June, when USDA's Grain Inspection, Packers and Stockyards Administration announced its sweeping new proposal, National Meat Association was immediately concerned that it could upset market and business relationships throughout the industry. National Meat Association members are meat packers and meat processors of all sizes, including a lot of the independent companies that are really going to be impacted by this rule. Among the many changes suggested in the proposals, packers would be banned from selling livestock to other packers. Producers would not have to prove competitive harm to make anti-competitive allegations, and private contracts would be made public on GIPSA's website. These are restrictions and criteria that could stifle normal business operations, have been rejected by federal courts, and are contrary to a free and open market. What is perhaps the most glaring oversight in the proposal, however, is that it did not consider the rule economically significant and include an economic impact analysis of the mandates. There was such a huge potential impact on the industry that NMA felt that it had to take action to gather the information that USDA had neglected.
I think it really drove it home to me that these rules are going to have a far-reaching impact. I think you all know the last true statesman to come out of Illinois, Everett Dirksen, had the saying, $1 billion here and $1 billion there, next thing you know, we're talking real money. Well, I think this Informa study shows that we're talking real money here. And the concern, obviously, from a cattle producer like myself is that out of this $1 billion annually, and 82% is going to be directly fall on cow-calf producers. This study has been, the rhetoric is starting to fly about it being a packer study, and obviously they had to get information from packers, but I don't believe it's a packer study. I believe it is a study of the entire industry. NCBA has been accused of being a packer outfit. We do have packers on our board. Less than 1% of our membership are packers because we represent the entire beef industry. The study was had to make some assumptions. And because the rules are so vague, those assumptions may or may not be correct. Every number in here probably isn't going to be exact, but I think the important thing is we look at the trend and we look at the overall impact. Is it going to be positive or negative? And my analysis of the study is that there's no way I could say it's going to be a positive impact. I look at some of the attorneys that are licking their chops, just waiting for this thing to pass so they can get into business and get dollars out of our industry. think about this industry, there is only two ways we can interject those dollars into it. Either producers like myself take less or consumers pay more. That's the only two ways. Everybody else is margin operators. So if you look at the impact of lowering the cost paid to producers and or raising the price that consumers pay, you can only come up with the conclusion that this is going to have a negative impact. So I guess as I look at this and I ask myself, does this proposed rule address the needed questions and needed answers? I would say no, and so I would ask that this rule be pulled and we start over and we come up with some common sense, realistic proposals. Thank you.